Hi, my name is Sid, and me and my group of Haley, Dan, and Courtney are going to be talking to you a little bit about light and noise pollution. So what do most people think of when they think about light and noise pollution? I think the number one thing that comes to mind specifically about light pollution is just not being able to see the stars at night. A 2020 survey study done by Coogan et al. Found that only 7.6% of residents saw that their sky actually got completely dark at night. And while this is absolutely tragic, there's a lot more negative consequences to light and noise pollution than just not being able to see the stars at night. Specifically, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the organisms that are affected by light and noise pollution. So a 2018 study by Sharifi et al. Found that the Pacific oyster bioaccumulated less cadmium in the presence of noise pollution. And what the specific study was looking at was cargo ships coming in and out of the harbor and the amount of noise pollution that this caused and how it affected these oysters. And so what this less cadmium means is that these oysters were filter feeding less, which kind of puts them at a disadvantage in their natural environment. Similarly, the redback salamander study was affected by light pollution. A 2022 study by Wise et al. Found that ALAN, or artificial light at night, caused the redback salamander to regrow their tails at a significantly slower rate. It also caused behavioral differences in the fruit flies that they used for this experiment as well, but it did not necessarily indicate that the fruit flies were at a disadvantage, and a little bit more research would be needed to test that out. But, lastly, I want to talk a little bit about mayflies. A 2015 study by Zell et al. Found that due to ALAN, mayflies were laying their eggs in areas that looked to them like water, specifically that reflective light off of asphalt. And this can cause disastrous consequences for entire generations of mayflies. And not only does this harm the mayflies, but it can harm entire ecosystems. Specifically, a lot of fish populations are at risk. And not only does this hurt people who like to fish, but as mayflies are an incredibly good indicator of stream health, as they're really sensitive to low oxygen levels, not having their presence not only affects, again, the entire ecosystem, but it also has consequences for us people. And talking a little bit more about people.
Artificial light at night has been linked to the disruption of the circadian rhythm, and it has been connected to tumorigenesis and oncogenesis, which is the forming of cancer. Studies have found that there is a correlation between artificial light at night and breast cancer specifically. Noise pollution has an effect on the human cognition, and human cognition refers to the way that humans learn, sleep, and how they process information. Cognition is held in the brain by the cerebral cortex, which is pictured above. Noise pollution can cause distractions and stress, which in turn has an effect on the way that people do their jobs, specifically how much energy they have and how they feel about themselves. Throughout the studies that have been done already, they've researched that only in children and older adults noise pollution has an effect. Noise pollution has had an effect on reading and the language skills of adults. Studies have shown that the eye, specifically the retina, is connected to how the body responds to the circadian rhythm. So with the excess light that humans experience daily, it makes the days seem longer to the eyes, and then the circadian rhythm is disrupted. It's mainly blue lights that affect the circadian rhythm. Scientists want to use a blue-free white light emitting diode, which is called an WLED, that's based on organic material to fix the problem.
Today, the world is currently at the point where we are aware of the dangers of light and sound pollution to the environment as well as to ourselves and are making efforts of improvement. Engineers have all been formatting an equation between the relationship of types of vehicles and sound pollution to calculate which vehicles produce the most sound pollution. From there, these vehicles can be changed or regulated to decrease sound pollution. Another example of engineers at work, in this case with light pollution, is the calculations of light pollution in China. Similar to the equation created to determine sound pollution relationships, these engineers are analyzing the correlation of specific buildings, cities, and areas with necessary light to the production of light pollution. With a largely populated country like China, these statistics can be applied to other large countries such as the US to determine which sources of light can be prioritized and which can be negated to decrease pollution. A final example on how the world is treating this situation is the modernization of Kabul city through the minds of engineers. From a negative outlook on engineering efforts towards light and sound pollution, the increase in population density per housing space and area of land with little concern towards the environmental effects increases sound pollution exponentially and distorts natural light, leading to an increase in artificial light and therefore light pollution. This is the result if engineers do not take light and sound pollution as a concern when it comes to public buildings.
Construction creates a large amount of pollution. There are many different forms, but as you know, we are focusing on noise and light pollution for this presentation. Noise pollution has three main parts that all contribute to a reduced public health for those in the affected area. The three parts that are as follows: noise source, transmission, and receivers. One way to reduce the effect of noise sources is to maintain and update machinery to reduce the amount of noise they make. One way to reduce noise transmission is to install fencing around the site with a sound-absorbing material attached. One way to reduce noise receivers is to limit the hours that a construction site can be worked. To regulate how much noise is coming from a construction site, there are standards set in place on how much noise can be made during the night and at day, with less than 70 decibels during the day and less than 55 at night. Unlike noise pollution, light pollution is only a problem during night construction. To make working at night safer and more productive, large work lights are often used to provide light for the area. These at times can disturb residents near the construction site. The disturbance can cause residents to have reduced sleep, which has been shown to have negative effects on physical and mental health. Along with maintaining and upgrading machinery to make them more quiet, there have also been advancements in electric construction equipment, like the backhoe shown in this image. There are also electric mini excavators and other machinery that can be utilized. This turn to electric machinery will help to reduce the amount of noise that is created on a job site, also making less noise for the surrounding area. Light pollution is a big problem that is tougher to solve. To ensure the safety of workers on the construction site, lighting cannot be reduced to an unsafe level, but there is other options. If possible, when scheduling out all work for the construction project, night work could be used only when necessary. Another solution would be to put shielding on work lights to stop any light not being directed at the work site.
Alright, so we've kind of covered the organisms that have been affected, how it affects people and human health, and then we went a little bit into detail about how are some of the ways that this can be solved, and what can you do specifically in your life to make less of an impact in light and noise pollution. As nighttime traffic is one of the largest contributors to light pollution, avoiding driving at night when possible, as well as implementing noise-canceling habits into your daily life can help with perhaps preventing some of the more negative consequences of light and noise pollution. But here we have our references. And I just want to give you guys a big thank you for watching. I really appreciate it.